Hello, I'm Jason Bondarchuk, and I'm going to be talking about car infotainment, and this is the introduction for our presentation. So let's start with a simple definition. There's no dictionary definition, but on Wikipedia, they define it as in-car entertainment or infotainment. In-vehicle infotainment is a collection of hardware and software in automobiles that provides audio or video entertainment. Now, I think that this is a pretty limited definition since information is a pretty big part of car infotainment. E-info chips, which is some technology journal, not academic, just general journal article. They define it as infotainment systems are systems that provide a combination of entertainment and information for enhanced in-vehicle experience. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to say car infotainment is any technology that a driver of an automobile can use or change the settings of while in motion. So one example of something that I will actually exclude because we're talking about safety so in the new Tesla models, you are literally able to play video games off of the screen, but this is strictly limited for when the car is not in use. So even though this would normally be under the car infotainment umbrella, in our case, I would omit this. But then what we'll also include, so let's break this down into a couple of categories. So under information, we can say that there are lots of dashboards and things that can basically anything that can control things auxiliary to the driving system. So for example, there's temperature control, there's heads-up displays. Now we might have heads-up displays on your dashboard, behind your steering wheel, or maybe in some new fancy cars, some that are projected onto the windshield. There's camera displays, so backup cameras. There are cameras that replace your rear view mirror or side mirrors. There's notification systems that tie in with your mobile devices, GPS navigation, voice controls, calling and texting, hands-free. Then we have the entertainment category where we talk about there's audio and music systems, and again, some of these can also be part of the information where your audio system, buttons and knobs, or your digital displays are making turning the notifications louder, vibrate, whatever, depending on what car you're in. But yes, this includes both analog and digital. So in older cars, we talk about there's some buttons and knobs, and the new ones have digital displays. So then there's also rear view displays, and I would include this because the drivers have access, at least in the cars that I've driven back when we had DVD players in these cars, the driver can put the DVDs into the DVD player and the video would be broadcast to everyone in the backseat. So I would still say that this is something that you can change the settings of when you're in the car. Then there's also automation. So there's controls and sensors that replace older analog controls. So for example, now you have this one temperature control where you can set the temperature instead of setting the temperature, like you set the ambient temperature within the car instead of the temperature that's coming out of your heaters or AC. So you can sort of just set it and forget it. So that's one. There's also automatic music playback. So before you might have to physically queue up another song or put in a new DVD or something like that, some CD, sorry. And now there's also automatic Bluetooth pairing. Automatically my phone connects to the car, and then if my headphones are connected to my phone, they'll unpair the headphones, pair to the car, and immediately start playing the music, so I don't have to do anything, right? So I would, even though you don't have to touch them, I would put these in this definition. Okay, and then here's some images of car infotainment systems. So the newer ones, which you see on the left, there's this big navigation screen. There's lots of digital buttons, touchscreen buttons. Then there's apps, which you can see at the bottom. And some of these apps, this is probably Apple CarPlay. And then there's the old school stuff where we have temperature control with buttons and knobs, and we have rear view DVD players, which are only viewable from the back seat, but you put them in the front seat, and backup cameras, right? Let's talk about scale and popularity of car infotainment as an industry. In 2024, this is a quote, drivers and passengers are expected to spend around 2 billion hours with in-vehicle infotainment, and that should skyrocket. So this is an exponential expectation. So that's the usage. A lot of people are using it, and we can actually view the time that people are using it depending on the region. And you can see from this graph by ABI Research, which was used in a source from Markets and Markets, this is actually an exponential graph. Also, it's a global phenomenon. North America and Western Europe are actually the minority in the entire world. So cars, especially in Asia, also have lots of the same things that we have here. Now let's talk about the market and overall economy behind it. So it is a massive industry, and it's estimated that half of the cost of your car is dedicated to the electronics. So back before, when there was less, I would assume that the cost of the car is mostly in the things that make the car drive, or the seats and things like that you need to, basically things that are directly related to driving a car. And now it's half of the car is dedicated to the cost of sensors and electronics and infotainment systems. So we also see that the in-vehicle infotainment market size is going from 16.4 billion in 2023 to 28.3 billion in 2028. So this is also probably some sort of exponential curve going up. The technology industry is exploding, especially in the car infotainment market. A lot of what this kind of shows is the drive behind these might be because there's technology in the car and people want to buy the cars with the better technology, like Tesla. So yeah, so with an enormous market, a large part of the car's worth is in the electronics and sensors. However, the electronics and sensors may not necessarily be all in car infotainment. There's also complex autonomous systems and auxiliary technology that is not directly going to be used by the user for car infotainment, but this is really just because the study does not mention explicitly what their criteria is other than automotive electronics. But we can sort of surmise that the car infotainment industry being a part of this is also some large subset of what this number was representing. So let's talk about the history. Of course, there's the first car, we got Model T Ford, no infotainment, basically nothing. It was just a way to get around with gas. Then there's AM, FM car radios many years later. And then there's cassette tape players in the 70s, followed by CD players in the 90s. And then now we have GPS in the form of displays, and we have touchscreens, and those were in the 2000s, and then now we're getting into AI, and we have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and Apple CarPlay. So things have really gone from nothing to lots of buttons and dials and switches and physical tapes and CDs, physical things that you need to plug in. And now they're kind of getting into, you don't have to touch anything. There's these big displays that help you see around your car and what's in front of you and where you are and things like that. So quickly, I'd like to just give a roadmap of what our presentation is going to be like. So first, we're going to go into hazard identification. There's things like distracted driving, abusive features, not meant for vehicles in motion. There's data and privacy and security. There's screens with their pros and cons. Do the user experience, is it good or is it bad? Then we're going to talk about safety enforcement. So there's laws and regulations. There's safety first features like rear view cameras, displays, proximity sensors. There's socio-technical impact. There is competition in the infotainment space and are buyers influencing the market. There's privacy lawsuits, and we'll get into gaps in safety. Are there anything that we missed in the reductions of hazards? So for example, we'll get into if voice assistants help or hurt you, if your driving skills and navigation are hurt in absence of the sensors, and then we'll talk about what's going right in the industry, reiterating some of the safety concepts and focusing on the data related to the accident. We'll dive a bit into the socio-technical model just a little bit more and about what we can expect with the industry going forward and what kinds of technologies might be coming out. Here are the first half of the references, and here are the second half. Thank you for watching.